chilling images, never to be forgotten.
I just wanted to get out of there and go home. I was really scared.
Terror in the Rockies. Stay with Fox News Channel for complete coverage.
Up next on the Fox Weekend Report, new evidence, new answers. All that pain and pandemonium. Now police say the young guns were going for the big kill and that they may have been planning this massacre for an entire year. We'll take you to Littleton, Colorado for the latest on the investigation. Then it's time for a final goodbye. Hundreds of people go to the first of many funerals for victims of this horrible crime. Plus, Operation Allied Force, month number 2. Is the war getting wider? Or, as President Clinton puts it, do we just need to have a little patience? That and the rest of the day's news right now on the Fox Weekend Report. Hello everyone, I'm Todd Connor. It was a day of shocking revelations and profound grief in Littleton, Colorado. While hundreds said their final goodbyes to shooting victim Rachel Scott, cops revealed the two gunmen had been plotting this huge school massacre for a long time. Carol McKinley begins our coverage. Am I staying here?
Columbine High School, where just 5 days ago, two gunmen walked these fields, entered the front doors, killed 13 people, then took 2 bullets themselves.
Additional units from 71, several shots fired, called at high school. Use caution.
Investigators have revealed startling contents of a handwritten diary found in one of the suspects' homes. It has a timeline indicating this rampage was planned a year ago, with April 20th, the target date.
It was Hitler's birthday.
Also found inside one of the homes was a detailed map of Columbine High.
They've had this map for quite a period of time and had made notations on the map like these lights are bad over here, good place to hide here, you know, numbers of students in cafeteria, it seems 11 o'clock, the highest amount. They were going for a big kill.
Investigators believe an alarming email delivered to them with a warning about more killing could be a hoax. But the amount of firearms used last Tuesday were too real, and that leads them to believe Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris did not act alone. The answer could lie in a video surveillance tape taken in the cafeteria during all the chaos. That tape is at the FBI Quantico's engineering research facility. They're trying to enhance the grainy images to see if students' faces had panic or whether they were calm during the horror. And they're trying to see if anyone was caught doing anything on the tape which looked suspicious. Investigators are still interviewing students who may have seen an extra suspect.
He's really about right here, and the person that was downstairs, which I think is Dylan, he came around this way. And it wouldn't have been possible for only 2 kids to cover a school that size.
Also, we have reports from outside the school that possibly grenades are being thrown on the roof of the school.
Now, investigators are going to take a much-needed break tomorrow so they can be with their families. Vice President Al Gore is flying into town to head up a memorial services, which is going to happen here in this park, right near the high school. There will be thousands of security. People are going to be here. It's going to be very well watched. So investigators are ready for anything, but they're hoping that the horror ended with Klebold and Harris's last bullet. Todd?
Carol, these two may have been planning this for an entire year. Did anyone have any clue that they might have been up to something they shouldn't have been?
That's what everyone's wondering. Apparently, one of the suspects had the handle of a sawed-off shotgun in his room, and there are tales of a memento, like a huge memorial to Hitler inside his room also. Plus, there was a homemade video which detailed some of the things they were going to do, plus internet, all kinds of signs. Also, they told a lot of their friends about their plans, so everyone wonders, how could these kids have given so many warnings and no one did anything about it?
Yeah, you would have thought someone would have spoken up at the time. These email hoaxes, cops apparently got some sort of email that was supposedly from one of these 2 suspects. What can you tell us about that?
Well, apparently there was an email sent to the cops, so it was brought to them, and it had all kinds of disturbing messages about Eric Harris being picked on, that he was going to kill everyone, that the parents and the teachers were the fault of all of this. There was even a target date, Monday, April 26th, as the time that there would be more killing. But the police believe now that this was written after the death, and that it really was a phony, that they're not too worried, but they're still looking into it because they have to take everything seriously.
And Carol, back to the videotape from the school. Any idea, have cops let you know how soon we could hear something as far as what they might see in those videotapes that were sent off to the FBI?
Well, right now they're being enhanced at Quantico, the Behavioral Sciences Unit, and at this point I think it's their priority to keep them there because there could be suspects out there and they don't want to tip people off.
And if cops told you how long their investigation might go, I know they're still collecting evidence at this point. Have they set a timeline they hope to wrap up in a week, a month?
Well, this school is probably going to be closed for a while. As of yesterday, they'd only taken 10% of the evidence out. So there's quite a bit more. It's a huge crime scene. I would say this is going to go on for weeks.
All right, Carol McKinley, thanks very much for that update. Well, it's been 4 days since the nation first laid eyes on this sickening scene. For 4 days, parents and kids have been desperately trying to cope. And now it's time for final goodbye. Our Steve Brown joins us now with that story. Steve?
Well, Todd, what we can tell you, outside the school, there's been an increasing number of folks, largely teenagers, trying to get close to the school, trying to understand a little bit better what's been going on. Today was their first real opportunity to say goodbye to 17-year-old Rachel Scott. Her funeral services held at nearby Trinity Christian Church here in Littleton. It was a very full church, full of her classmates, family, friends, and it was an emotionally wrenching service. It was carried live here on the Fox News channel. Rachel's life and times were recounted, obviously, prior to her life being cut short on Tuesday. She was gunned down inside of the school. One of Rachel's teachers and a lot of her classmates who spoke today, including one youth pastor, recounted how that Rachel was always a happy, outgoing, well-liked person who always seemed to be more interested in other people's happiness.
She was an amazing, amazing girl. She had this fun, full of life side where she had like so much energy and she made people laugh.
Now, we are to understand that Dylan Klebold's funeral, he was one of the suspects, was also originally scheduled for today. But when a Fox News Channel crew went to the church where the service was supposed to take place, we were told that there were no preparations. We're a little bit unsure whether or not the family decided to withdraw from that public announcement that they had made about this service and held something privately, or perhaps one of the local newspapers, in fact, got it wrong. We do know that one of the local newspapers here in Denver did, unfortunately, post a funeral announcement notice for one young man, Richard Castaldo, who is still recuperating in one area hospital. And we were told that he is not doing very badly at all, recuperating very well. So there is a little bit of confusion as to what is going to happen with the funerals of the two suspects. We do understand that those will be taking place sometime in the very near future, and we would be very surprised if it did not include a fair amount of security as well, given the obvious amount of animosity that people in this area may feel towards them. Reporting live from Littleton, Colorado, I'm Steve Brown. Todd, back to you.
And Steve, can you tell us about preparations for any other memorials, any other services for the victims?
Well, Carol was talking about the really big service that's going to be happening here tomorrow, and that's probably going to be the pinnacle event. There's going to be a number of funerals. It seems like the largest concentration of which is going to be Monday. The teacher that was killed. We also know that Lauren Townsend's funeral is just a short distance from here. So we know that it does appear like the largest concentration of those funerals may in fact be Monday.
All right, Steve Brown in Littleton, Colorado, thanks very much. And still ahead on the Fox Weekend Report, as bombs fly over Kosovo, NATO celebrates 50 years in Washington. We'll have the latest. And speaking of bombs, we've got more blasts to tell you about, including a London explosion that could be racially motivated. Finally, the Colorado shooting left the kids of Columbine High School with a lot to cope with. Is grief counseling their answer? Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The master thief.
You want to get him or not?
He's not gettable. The perfect plan. Why are you following me?
I've got a proposition for you.
The ultimate prize.
$8 billion in total.
It's doable. Sean Connery, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Bing Rames.
This is for real.
You're playing both sides.
If you want him, I'm going to get him for you.
You change partners. You change rules. Entrapment. Rated PG-13. The trap is set. Friday.
People go through a lot just to get great tasting water. Now there's a better way. Introducing the Pure Touch faucet with a filter right inside. Pure Touch, exclusively for mowing.
Family? There are at least 100 questions every home buyer should ask. Like, how much down payment do I need? Can I buy a $200,000 home with an FHA loan? Do I really need homeowner's insurance? Luckily, HUD's FHA has the answers. We've helped 25 million Americans buy a home. Call for our free brochure.
Frequent heartburn. Is it worse at night, especially after dinner?
Mm-hmm.
Have you treated it, even changed your diet, but still suffered 2 or more days a week?
Mm-hmm.
Has your heartburn been a persistent problem for you?
Mm-hmm.
Your heartburn may be due to a potentially serious condition called acid reflux disease. Ask your doctor about Prilosec. For many people, 1 capsule daily provides 24-hour complete heartburn relief. Ask your doctor about Prilosec and if it's right for you. The most common side effects are headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. Want 24-hour heartburn relief with 1 daily dose? Ask your doctor about the 24-hour complete heartburn relief that's possible with Prilosec.
Saturday, NATO marks its big 50th, but with Kosovo, there's little cause for celebration. Would ground troops help put an end to the Milosevic reign of terror? Get the inside buzz with the Beltway boys. Powerful primetime Saturday, only on the Fox News Channel. Saturday, it was our worst school massacre yet. There were 2 killers, but was there a larger conspiracy? What's he going to turn up this week? Gotta know? Catch Drudge. Powerful primetime, Saturday, only on the Fox News Channel.
Now for the latest on our other big story, the conflict in Kosovo. NATO leaders are meeting in Washington to celebrate the alliance's 50th year. But as expected, war, not peace, ruled the day. Here's our Wendell Gold.
The NATO summit remained a council of war on Kosovo, with the president still opposed to sending ground troops and still convinced the air war will prevail against Yugoslav President Slobodan Milosevic.
We will either break down his military capacity to retain control over Kosovo, or the price of staying there will be far greater than the perceived benefit.
Meanwhile, outside the White House, there was bitter protest of the month-long bombing campaign.
Our home, our land, our people are burning in hell.
The 19 NATO leaders looked for a way to intensify the Serbs' severe oil shortage to choke off their war machine.
I heard this morning that the Serbs are now going around to all of the abandoned refugee cars and are siphoning the petrol out of the tanks. I mean, they're that desperate now.
With a number of U.S. warships in the Adriatic, the simplest solution would be to blockade the port of Bar in Montenegro, which is Yugoslavia's only access to the sea. But after a month of bombing, some leaders are still squeamish about a naval blockade.
Let's assume that the ship does not allow itself to be shot, so you have to board it forcibly and conduct a forced search. Now, that's an act of war.
NATO has ordered Supreme Commander General Wesley Clark to come up with a visit and search plan to make it sound less confrontational. But the Russians, with their own warships in the Adriatic, say they'll continue to supply the Serbs. And NATO's Secretary General admits the alliance isn't sure how it will deal with that.
And I will give you an answer before I leave Washington tomorrow night.
The president denies the country's drifting into an open-ended war in the Balkans, another Vietnam, but at the same time he's calling on Americans to show patience if NATO's effort is to succeed. At the White House, Wendell Golder, Fox News.
Now it's clear, of course, NATO is determined to keep hitting Yugoslav President Slobodan Milosevic hard and where it hurts the most. Our Steve Santani is at the Pentagon with details. Steve?
Well, Todd, life is becoming more difficult for everyone in Yugoslavia. Roads and bridges have been destroyed. Electrical power and Serb TV were knocked out temporarily. And there's a major assault on the country's fuel supplies.
At its latest briefing, NATO showed pictures of an underground oil storage facility being struck by fighter planes. And they said the oil refinery at Novi Sad was bombed again Friday night. NATO says Yugoslavia's oil refining capability is gone and its oil reserves cut by 70%. NATO's now hitting a new class of targets, with civilians feeling more of the impact. Serb TV headquarters was hit by cruise missiles Thursday, and Saturday thousands marched in Belgrade in memory of those killed in that attack. NATO leaders continue to defend the bombing, saying Serb TV was a propaganda tool for Slobodan Milosevic.
He uses it to spew hatred and to basically spread disinformation.
Electrical transformers are also being hit, knocking out power to both civilian and military users. But NATO insists the Yugoslav people are not being targeted.
It's not our intention, I want to make this clear, to in any way render the life of Serbs even more difficult than it is already. Our attention is simply to target the military power apparatus.
But in the process, apparently, the people of Yugoslavia sometimes have to pay the price. Todd?
Steve, is there anything new on the 3 American soldiers being held prisoner?
Well, yes, you know, they haven't been able to talk to their families yet or the International Red Cross. Now we're finding out the head of the International Red Cross will travel to Belgrade next week, sit down personally with Slobodan Milosevic and demand that he have access to those 3 soldiers. That is required under the Geneva Convention whenever anybody is being held as a prisoner of war.
All right, Steve Santani, thanks very much for that update. Still ahead on the Fox Weekend Report, it's not Yugoslavia, but bombs are exploding in London for the 2nd weekend in a row, and we've got the details. John Elway's getting ready to talk, but will it be talk of retirement? We'll tell you. And when tragedy strikes, what should be done for people who are affected? We'll tell you if grief counseling is a good idea. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
There's nothing like the fragrance of a woman, especially if that's all she's wearing.
White diamonds from Elizabeth Taylor.
I never forget a woman in diamonds.
Choose one of 2 gifts with a $47.50 White Diamonds purchase.
Here's your Pop-Tart, Anthony.
Thanks, Mom.
Here comes Pillsbury Toaster Strudel. They taste better than Pop-Tarts. With our do-it-yourself icing, real juicy fruit filling, and flaky pastry, what would you do to get one? Pillsbury Toaster Strudel. Something better just popped up.
Why is it models always look 15? I don't like that. Her? Please. She has another 20 years before she even has to think about wrinkles.
Right, and I'll look 30 years younger overnight.
At the Pond's Institute, we don't give you hype, we give you results. Our age-defying lotion with these 4 ingredients is proven to visibly reduce fine lines by up to 77%. Age-defying lotion from the Pond's Institute. No hype, just younger-looking skin.
We started this business with a green thumb, a vivid imagination.
And a lot of hard work.
But before long, I could see we needed help, financial help.
So I called American Express Small Business Services.
They helped us with equipment financing so we could keep on growing.
And with the corporate card, we finally got a handle on expenses.
1-800-SUCCESS was the best call we ever made.
With American Express, we've learned what it's like to have a partner you can count on.
And a brother.
Lindsay never cleans her shower, yet it's always clean with new formula Tilex Fresh Shower. Look at the difference. Soap scum builds up if you don't use Tilex Fresh Shower. Try Tilex Fresh Shower brand. The difference is clear.
Coffee? Sounds great. Let me just check my messages.
Hi, Mrs. Kane. It's Hills Pharmacy. Your prescription is ready, and your total comes to $65.
Ooh, tell me that's more than one prescription.
Nope, that's how much just one of my refills costs. Our insurance doesn't cover prescriptions. What can I do?
Join the People's Prescription Plan.
A People's Prescription Plan membership card tells your pharmacist a lot. It says that for one low monthly fee, you and everyone in your household are guaranteed the best price the plan offers on all types of prescription drugs. New prescriptions, refills, injectables, and more. Plus, you can save up to half off the cost of eyeglasses and contact lenses. So get the lowest price available with the People's Prescription Plan. Call now.
Sue, just got back from the drugstore. I really did save with the People's Prescription Plan.
Call 1-800-571-2444. Call now.
We've got 2 bomb attacks overseas to tell you about tonight. One exploded outside our consulate building in the Russian city of Yekaterinburg. That city is about 900 miles east of Moscow. Cops found the bomb under a car before it went off, but by the time the bomb squad got there, it was too late. Investigators don't know if this attack is in any way linked to our involvement in Operation Allied Force. Russia is completely against NATO's airstrikes on Yugoslavia. And for the second Saturday in a row, a car bomb went off in London, this time in the heart of one of the city's largest minority communities. Tim Friend from Sky News has our report.
For a second weekend, a busy market area of London has been shattered by a nail bomb. It's being driven to a police station by a man who picked it up off the street. Then, just before 6 this evening, it went off, tearing his car apart and leaving it in flames.
Parked the car and just went about 100 yards, and there was a big explosion. I just stood still, I couldn't believe the actual explosion. It was so loud.
I've met quite a few people who've got, nails and everything. We just think it's a nail bomb that was placed under a car or something.
The whole area was cordoned off as police from the anti-terrorist branch checked there were no other bombs nearby. They'd been brought across from Brixton, where a reconstruction of last weekend's attack was being carried out. The parallels to tonight's blast are obvious. Brick Lane is in Tower Hamlets, a part of East London that has a history of racist attacks. And members of the Bangladeshi community here have spoken of rumours they'd be the next target after Brixton.
A council officer issued a memo, internal memo, really precautioning that we need to take necessary measures so that nothing happen of that kind.
So far, the police say 7 people have been hurt, although none of them seriously. The area's still sealed off. Rob Smith, Sky News, East London.
A truck crash in a remote Mexican jungle leaves 46 dead and at least 10 others injured. The truck loaded with 60 people barreled off the side of a steep mountain road and fell 1,000 feet. The crash site is about 3 hours drive from Mexico's border with Guatemala. The state news agency is blaming mechanical failure for that crash. Back at home, an empty fuel tank may have been behind last night's fatal plane crash in Hayward, California. Fire chief says the single-engine plane sputtered on its way to the air terminal and dove into a 200-foot high power line. It then crashed into an apartment building and broke into several pieces. 3 people were on board, 2 passengers died in the crash, and the pilot is listed in critical condition. Heads up, computer users, another virus is set to strike. It's dubbed Chernobyl and will invade computers on Monday, the 13th anniversary of the nuclear disaster. And this Chernobyl will hit your computer where it counts.
Once it gets there, it actually sits and waits, and when April 26th comes, it actually causes damage by either deleting files or corrupting files or corrupting your system. Really, the people who write these viruses are primarily, vandals or people who are trying to cause damage.
The good news is you can get protection. Computer folks suggest buying an antivirus software or grabbing some free vaccine tools off the web. Well, it looks like football fans won't see a three-peat with John Elway at the controls. Fox Sports is saying the Denver Broncos legend's ready to call it a career. He's telling family and friends he won't be back for the 1999 season. Elway led the Broncos to the last 2 Super Bowl titles. It could be the last straw for Darryl Strawberry. The slugger was put on administrative leave earlier today by League Commissioner Bud Selig. That means Strawberry can't play until the commissioner's office reviews his arrest. Darryl was arrested April 14th for cocaine possession and soliciting a prostitute. Strawberry's lawyer says he'll plead not guilty to both charges. Returning to our top story now, the school shooting in Colorado and the healing that's sure to follow. The question is, how? Here's our Chris Osborne.
Yeah, I'm fine, but a lot of other people aren't.
When tragedy strikes and violence claims innocent lives, often some of the first people on the scene are teams of professional grief counselors. They come to help victims deal with the overwhelming emotions. But some mental health experts question whether that's always the best approach.
I disagree with formulas for quote-unquote grief work, where counselors who are trained come in and teach people to emote and get in touch with their pain and talk about it. Some people just aren't comfortable with that sort of strategy.
Susan Cohen lost her only child in the bombing of Pan Am Flight 103. She found the grief counselors who approached her less than helpful.
It's as if there's a schedule and a time frame you have to meet, and at the end of it, you're supposed to be somehow finished with grief. I will never be finished with this. That was my only child. I can't put the memories of my daughter in a little box and tie it up and put it in the back of my head and then forget about it. That's not what this is like at all. And all of that shallow, trivial talk that was given to us, I think it made everything worse.
But counselors say that's not the usual response to their offers of help. Their only goal, they insist, is to just be available.
I think what's important to our program is that we just make sure that our families have the information.
Those raising these questions are careful to point out that they don't discourage therapy or talking about grief for those who find it helpful. They stress that coping is often an individual process, something some choose to do on their own timetable with their own friends and family or in their religious community. In New York, Chris Osborne, Fox News.
No doubt they've got a tough time ahead. Well, that does it for tonight. I'm Todd Connor. Don't forget to join us again tomorrow night for another edition of the Fox Weekend Report. And later this evening, we'll have a live 2-hour special on terror in the Rockies. That's at 10 p.m. Eastern Time with Shepard Smith. And now we leave you with a last goodbye to one of the victims, 17-year-old Rachel Scott. Have a good night.
Beautiful to me.
Presenting the First USA PGA Tour Titanium MasterCard. With a 3.9% APR for the first 6 months, then a low 9.99% thereafter. There's no annual fee, a credit limit from $5,000 to $100,000, and a free gift. How can you get all this? By calling 1-800-509-8960 now. Think what it could bring you. Greens fees, $116. Graphite shaft clubs, $877. Lunch at the turn, $13.50. Balls, tees, $36. Hole in one. And a witness, priceless. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's the First USA PGA Tour Titanium MasterCard. Call 1-800-509-8960 now and enjoy exceptional privileges and benefits. You could save hundreds of dollars by transferring your balances from higher interest rate credit cards. And you'll receive free a dozen Top Flight 3XL titanium golf balls with your first purchase or balance transfer. For a low 3.9% APR, a credit limit from $5,000 to $100,000, and no annual fee. Get the card that's a friend to golfers everywhere. Call 1-800-509-8960 and request the First USA PGA Tour or Senior PGA Tour Titanium MasterCard or the First USA Titanium MasterCard. The choice is yours, and so is this free gift. Call now.
The conflict in Kosovo.
last 19 months. 27 dead, 66 wounded. The real question is, why? Join us for a special one-hour edition of Beyond the News.
NATO's here in Washington to mark its 50th anniversary. But with the situation in Kosovo, there's no cause for celebration. The alliance says it's rock solid in its commitment to stop Milosevic's reign of terror. But what's really going on behind the scenes? Are ground troops really off the table? That and reaction to the tragic shooting in Colorado. Coming up on the Beltway, boys. But first, the latest headlines from the Fox News desk in New York.
Hello everyone, I'm Todd Connor. The Colorado school rampage was a year in the making. It's all inside a handwritten diary of one of the shooters that investigators just found. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold apparently had been building bombs and acquiring guns for some time. The pair even monitored the lunchroom to find out when it was busiest. Today, the family and friends of one of the victims, Rachel Scott, came together for her funeral.
If you're going to take your schools back, you have to do it. If there's a stand to be taken, it can't be taken by politicians, as well-meaning as they may be, or by legislators, or by the police, or by even your parents. Students, you have to take the stand.
Rachel Scott's funeral is just one of several services as the people of Littleton try to come to grips with the Columbine school massacre. Well, NATO leaders are taking on a new strategy to cripple Yugoslavia's military. They want to cut off Milosevic's oil supply by stopping oil tankers on their way to Montenegro. Meanwhile, plans are underway to fly about 20,000 Kosovar Albanian refugees to the U.S. The White House says they'll be flown to New York and to other cities. And the Red Cross is demanding immediate access to the 3 American soldiers captured by Yugoslavia. And now let's take a look at who will be making headlines tomorrow. Here's Tony Snow with a preview of Fox News Sunday.
Thanks, Todd. How can we prevent another schoolyard slaughter? We'll question Colorado Governor Bill Owens, Marilyn Quayle, and educators Joe Clark and Alvin Toussaint. Will the latest crises push the Republicans to the sidelines? We'll ask Senator Don Nickles. And our NATO allies say they want ground troops. Who's in charge here? We'll quiz Senators Joseph Biden and Mitch McConnell tomorrow on Fox News Sunday.
Thanks, Tony. Our next update's coming up at the top of the hour. Up next, the Beltway Boys. Stay tuned.
I'm Fred Barnes. And I'm Mort Kondracki, and we're the Beltway Boys. Fred, as usual, when there's one of these massive